Okay, thank you. Welcome, everybody. Um, I'd like to call a meeting to order. I'd acknowledge that we're in Treaty 1 territory, the home and traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, Innu Cree, and Dakota peoples, and the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation and Treaty 3 territory. My name is Neil Harden. I'm chairing today's panel. With me are Michelle Duncan and Richard Whitbread. The assessor today is Sharon Tang, and administrative personnel is Fran Picato. We will be hearing applications for revision of the assessment role in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we'll limit discussion to those matters. The statements that are made at this hearing are sworn testimony. Anyone speaking to the matters must be sworn in. Be advised that comparisons of assessments of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the board. The board is appointed annually by council and is independent of it in the city administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that may be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the board's decisions with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to the Court of King's Bench if the matter pertains to the application of exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the board's order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the points of appeal with your property to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We'll then have the assessor's testimony followed by questions the applicant may have, then the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today. The session will close after all the applications have been heard, and the board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You'll receive the board's decision by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record. We will be hearing items 4 through 8 on the docket today. Ms. Picado, please affirm the assessor's and applicant's testimony.
Madam Assessor, please state your full name.
Sharon Tang.
Do you affirm that the evidence you're about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Mr. Applicant, please state your full name.
Henry Dupont.
Do you affirm that the evidence you're about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Okay, the first property on today's agenda is 5 Levesque Street. So Ms. Sting, you can proceed.
File number is 24-2599. Roll number is 0609 3099600. Address is 5 Levesque Street. The assessed value for 2025 is $65,509,000. The property was built in 2008, and there are 5 buildings with 4 stories. There are a total of 298 suites, 301 indoor parking, and 190 outdoor parking. Bottom of page 2 and page 3 shows the subject property pictures and locations. And page 4 shows that there are no sales history within the 3 years before the effective date of the report. And page 5 shows the income approach valuation. So there are 83 one-bedroom, 197 two-bedrooms, 18 three-bedrooms, and we assign a monthly rent of $1,605.33. Then we use 3.6% vacancy, 40.22% expense ratio, and 5.05% cap rate. And that gives us $65,509,000. Page 6 shows the comparable rent and comparable maps. And page 7 and 8 shows the cap rate studies. And page 14 to 16 shows the subject property floor plans. And 17 to page 19 shows the income and expense information submitted by the owner. And that's my presentation.
Okay, questions, Mr. Dupont?
Did you do a site-specific analysis on this property?
No, it was all model driven for the value.
The cap rates that you showed, do you have any workups for any of those cap rates?
Well, we only show the value. We don't have the actual income and expense information to show the calculation.
That's page 8. For 2390 McPhillips, did you use the actual rent in place or market rents?
We use the actual rent. We use a 3-year stabilization and then calculate the cap rate.
150 Hendon, you got 401% cap rate. Did you use the rents that were approved by RTB on the day of possession or the past rents?
We use the 3-year stabilization rent.
You did not use the rents that were approved by RTB at the time of sale?
No.
Okay. That's all the questions I have.
Okay, Ms. Duncan, do you have any questions?
No questions, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Whitbread? You're muted.
Thank you. The cap rate study on page 8. The year builts are considerably older than, up to 50 years older than this building. Does that have any bearing on the cap rate that you've selected for this building at 2008 as a 2008 built versus what you've represented here?
I think the 2390 McPhillips is fairly new. That one was built in 2015. That one has a 4.71% cap rate. And the other ones, I mean, it's a range. So we do have older buildings have lower cap rates. So the first one, 727 Sargent, it was built in 1955, and that one has a 3.46% cap rate. And we also have the 555 Cordon, so it's a range between 3.46 to 5.74. And we do make adjustments based on the year built and other factors as well.
Okay, and what about the number of suites? I mean, we're talking almost 300 suites here. And you've got 8, 11, 59, 9, 9, 9. Does that have a bearing on your cap rate?
It does. So if we were looking at 2390 McPhillips, that one has 90 suites and 4.71% cap rate. And because the subject property has more suites, so we're assigning a lower cap rate. So we assign a 5.05% cap rate. So we do take the number of suites into consideration.
And I think you indicated somewhere in your evidence that you did not visit this property at all, right?
I did not.
Okay, so you can't comment on the condition from any other visits that have been made?
No.
Okay. Okay, I'm fine. Thank you. No other questions.
Okay, I'm looking at your comparables. You've got 4 comparables, but the modeled rent for the subject property is higher than any of those comparables. So how do those comparables support the modeled rent?
So if you're looking at Well, I guess if you're just looking at the rent, you'll be a lot lower compared to the subject property. But if you're looking at the square footage per price per square foot, the subject property is about $1.45 per square foot, and my comparable rent range between $1.30 to about $1.58 per square foot. So that supports the model rent.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I have no further questions. So, Mr. DuPont, you can begin.
Yeah, so you can look, I guess, at the beginning, we get the photos and the map on page 6. So the location is a bit remote. It's on Highway 59 and Abinogi. So it's kind of far from everything. So that's a point against it for location. Then we can maybe go to the appendix. So page 17 is just is the photo, and it shows where it is off Highway 59. And then you got the description at the bottom. It's a 55 plus building, etc. The next page shows the features: air conditioning, fridge, and suite washer dryer. Quite normal. Now the photos starting on page 19 indicates plain finish that they have in there. So they don't have stainless steel appliances. They have a white stove and fridge. The counters are brown, so that the colors not necessarily the most attractive. And then you got the bathrooms following, fairly plain. Now, page 21, it shows carpeting in living rooms, hallways, and bedrooms, and actually part of their amenities. I should point it out to you. They say it's carpeting, so they don't have the newer vinyl plank in there. And the fixtures, page 22, very plain fixtures. Yeah, then we have the financial statements. Yeah, so the features on page 18, when it says when the features above there were sort of air conditioning, they say carpet. Also, so we can go to our page 11 regarding to the cap rate. So we dispute the assessor's cap rate 505. We're using 5.25. Our cap rate that we have for 2005 plus is 5% to 5.75. Then we have the factors. It's a newer building in 2008, concrete frame. Building amenities, it shows 55 plus, and balconies. Quality finish, I would say average. Locations remote at the edge of the city and Highway 59. Building size is large, 298 suites. So the assessment department usually has higher cap rates as there's more suites. I believe we notice at about 75 suites, they tend to have a higher cap rate for the same age group. And this one's got 298, so it's a very large building. And so with its size, it should be a higher cap rate as well as the other factors. So we use 5.25 cap rate. Page 12 is the spreadsheet. So we do have a difference in rent. So the actual rent, so line 3, after discount is $13.91 per suite, and the city has $16.05. and their own comparables did not support their 1605. So we use the actual rents, the line 3, 2022 after discounts. Use the same vacancy as the assessor. Then we had parking, 248,000, which quite significant, and some other miscellaneous income. So line 13, we got the 5,049,000, and the assessor's only much higher at 5,533, so almost 500,000 more in rent, almost 10%. Then expenses, we stabilized at relatively normal, insurance, utilities, etc., taxes at the most current year. The repair and maintenance, we stabilize at 1230 per suite based on site specific, and it shows on the next page, page 13. There's a breakdown of all their expenses. And the purple, we allow those expenses if it's on the recurring basis, and they appear to be on the recurring basis, but we exclude the 2022 for parking lot, parkade repairs. And for plumbing, another one for 2022, we disallowed that one. Now, you notice the flooring replacement is 181 per suite, and the max is 500. So they, because it's relatively new, they're not replacing their floors very often yet. And shows with the appliance, it's only 52 per suite versus the max of 225. So those in-suite repairs are relatively low. And counters and cupboards naturally are virtually nil. So when we stabilize that, we have 1230 per suite, and then the RM per suite for each year shown there, 1,033, 1,500, 1,200, 1,100, and 1,700. So when we stabilize at 1230, I believe we've been quite reasonable. So that figures what's plugged into the previous page, page 12. So line 31, our expenses, they're lower than the assessor on the dollar amount, and line 32, they're lower than the assessor on the expense ratio, where 38.5 expense ratio is the assessor's at 40.2%. So line 31, we have 3,103,000 in NOI versus the assessor 3,003,000. So about 200,000 difference in NOI at that point in time. We use 5.25 cap rates. We get a value of 59 million versus the assessor at 65,509,000. That would be my report for now. And I have a cap rate study to present, and I would like to give a verbal rebuttal on the assessor's cap rates.
Okay. Okay, let's have questions first, Ms. Tang, on his presentation.
I don't have any questions at this point.
Okay, Mr. Whitbread.
When you say 55 plus living arrangement, does that mean it's a supported living for the tenants that live there? Can they take meals in a dining room?
No, there's no meals. It's just an apartment that is geared towards 55 plus.
So no central kitchen that a new owner would have to dispose of if they didn't want supported living. Okay, I understand that.
Okay.
Do you know if the floors are being replaced as tenants move out?
No, our analysis of the repair maintenance indicates a very low repair maintenance, not repair maintenance, flooring. So that's on page 13.
Yeah, you're about 50, stabilized, you're about 54,000, right?
That's right. Yeah. So there is some recurring flooring replacement. Now I don't know exactly what they're putting in, but they're advertising carpets. and they have carpets because they're renting to 55 plus, instead of the vinyl plank, which is the more modern way of doing things.
Yeah, it works better for wheelchairs and walkers and whatnot, doesn't it?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. No, I'm fine. I'll leave it there.
Okay, Ms. Duncan.
Just similar to what Mr. Whitebread said. There looks like there's some common areas there. Looks like a library and some games room. So there's no kitchen facilities. Would there be any home care offices or anything like that set up in there, or?
That I don't know. So whatever they show in the page 18 there, amenities and features, is what there is there. So I don't see that they have staff for that specifically. So they do have some rooms for the seniors, like the clubhouse and I guess a small gym, a party room, and a rec room.
Okay, thank you. No other questions.
Okay, my question is, you describe the location as being remote, but isn't that a developing area? I mean, Sage Creek isn't too far, St. Vital Center isn't too far. Is that not a good location nowadays?
If you're saying there it's remote to, I guess, everything else in Sage Creek, you would have tons of retail that you'd be close, so there'd be a much better location to be in Sage Creek. And St. Mary's or St. Anne's, these would be better locations than here. This is on the highway, Highway 59, and Benoji, no, Fermor, actually.
Okay, all right. I've got no further questions, but okay, so you can present your cap rate now.
Do we have a copy of that?
His cap rate study is in the original package.
Okay. Just pulling that up.
Okay, Mr. DuPont, your cap rate study.
Yes, okay. So we start, we have some words, etc. Page 4, we quote from the appraisal real estate, third edition, and this is the basis of income producing real estate is the future income it will produce. And historical data on a property or market is relevant insofar as it helps interpret the market anticipation. And number 3 in there says the ultimate concern is the future. Current income is a good starting point, but the direction, expected pattern of income change are critical. So that we use the past only to determine the first year income. And that would be in support of us using market rents and or the rents at the time of purchase for 2 of our cap rate comparables. Then page 6, we have the brokers market reports, similar to what the assessor had in their report, their brief. We show though the previous assessment cycle, 2021 Q1 versus 2023. We show a change. We show the range. So for quite a few, they start 5 to 6. There's only one low one, the CBRE 4.5 to 5 5.25. And CBRE again for high rise B, they start 4.75 and Cushman 4.75. So most of them would be around the 5. And nevertheless, these are more of a background. Then we have cost of borrowing has gone up based on the graph, so that you have the higher mortgage rate in 2023 versus 2021, the previous reference date. Now we can jump to page 12. That's our cap rate comparables. That's a summary of them. And the first five are their smaller properties. Number of units are shown there: 24, 32, 16, 11. The last one, 100 Maryland, is shown, and it would be applicable to smaller properties built new. So this built in 2017, and then the cap rate is 5.44%. On that, and 150 Hendon, we have a 5.42% cap rate, and we have the workup following in 2390 McPhillips. We have 5.59. We have the comments. Then after that, page 13, we start the individual income approaches. And we can skip those to arrive at page 19. There's the 100 Maryland. That's one that's newer. So they show based on a pro forma. So that's the rent that I have, and that's the cap rate we obtain on that. The next one, page 20, 150 Hendon. The line 3, 2021, they had 2020 had 596,929. They sold in June 2021, and the 2021 questionnaire shows 712,182. Those were the rents that were approved by RTB effective on the date of possession, and we have evidence to that effect. So we arrive at 5.42% cap rate, and the assessor has that a much lower cap rate also. Other remarks, it says vendor applied for above guideline rent decrease with RTB Residential Tenancies Branch, and the RTB orders are effective June 1st, 2021. And 2021 IE is a partial year, but the potential gross income is showing 712,182, and that's what we use. And the first year of operation, 2022, was after the sale, but they did receive 709,313, so that means they achieved their rents after discount, so that the rents were approved as a possession date in the 2021. 2022 shows that they were able to absorb that. The next one, 2290 McPhillips, page 21. I believe we're very, very similar to in the past, in 2023, when the city and Altus had the cap rate on that. We were pretty much the same and all items except for market rent. So line 3, the actual 2019 rent was 1,445,000. It sold in 2020. And then we use line 3, 1,649,880. That's based on Chimichi rents. The actual rents were 1,339 for a brand new building, 2015, which was on the low side. And then the next page is shows how we arrived at those rents. We took the Chimichi rents for 2005 plus, and with the mix 1 and 2 bedrooms, we applied that, and that comes to 1,649,000 in rent. That's what we put in to establish a cap rate. And then the last paragraph on page 22, increased rents by the purchaser. So the advertised rent by the purchaser is November 15, 2022, shown as page 119. The rents were $14.55 for one bedroom, $16.95, which is higher than actual rents, higher than the Shimichi rents above. And this is 9% higher than Shimichi, it shows, and 24.5% higher than actual rents in 2019. So the purchaser bought the property, and then they increased the rents by 25%. So that which would demonstrate that the purchaser was not buying based on actual rents, because they increased the rents shortly thereafter. The next page, we have the civilization of repair maintenance, which I believe is not an issue. I guess the appendix, our appendix is too long, it's hard to find. So the orders for 150 Hendon is on page 89. So there's one order, the issue an order for each individual suite. That's how they do it. So they show that for that unit 37 at 150 Hendon, they increased the rents from $7.95, including parking, to $8.60. And it says there in the second paragraph under the word order, effective June 1st, 2021. And then the next page is the same as an order for a different type for a two-bedroom. So it went from 1043 to 1128. I don't think we need to go to any of the appendix for Shimichi, etc., because we pretty much in agreement with the city when they did the cap rate. And main disagreement is in the rents, and we went through that with the Shimichi rents. So that would be my submission on the cap rate study.
Okay, questions, Ms. Ting? I think you're muted.
Okay, so I'm just looking at the income and expense information for 150 Hendon. I guess page 94. That shows the 2020 December 31st, 2022. Wouldn't you agree that the total revenue is pretty similar to a 2021 level?
Where do you see it 2021?
I guess in your workup back in page page 20 shows your the cap rate study, the cap rate calculation for 150 Hendon.
Yeah.
It shows 2021 the rent you have is 712,182.
Yeah, so the 712,182 is the page 94. It's for 12 months ending. Yeah, that's 712,157. And
So
the 2021 questionnaire, that is for our cap rate. What page was that again? Yeah, some 12182. Yeah, that's the information I had for 2021. Yes.
And on page 4 of your brief, so it says, as stated in the appraisal of real estate third Canadian edition 2010, the appraiser must make certain that the net operating income of each comparable property is calculated and estimated in the same way that the net operating income for the subject property is estimated. So you are using historical information for the subject property. I'm just wondering if you have any comments regarding to using, like not using the historical information to calculate your cap rate.
For all properties, would be using the market rents as of the valuation date, and the procedure that we have both for the assessor when they do site specific and Altus, we use the previous year usually to establish the rents. If we knew that the rents had a big increase by valuation date April 1st, 2023, then we would use those higher rents. And the assessment department has done that many times when they found out the property was renovated and they knew the rents have increased.
I don't have any other questions.
Okay, Ms. Duncan, any questions on the cap rate?
No questions, thank you.
Mr. Whitbread?
Yes. I'm on page 6 of your evidence, looking at your market reports. Could you tell me how you differentiate between a low rise and a high rise? Is it number of stories?
Yes, 6 stories plus is deemed to be high rise.
Plus 6, okay. And I know I should have asked this earlier. You call this a 3-story building, but when I look at the photo on page 1 of your evidence, it's clearly a 1, 2, 3, 4-story, and the city calls it a 4-story residence as well. Is that
okay, yeah.
That must be a mistake in your evidence?
Yes.
Yeah, I think you made it twice. In the verbal description, I think there's also, you're calling it a 3-story. But nevertheless, it's a low rise. And would you call this an A or a B building?
A. We don't do that categorization usually, but it's yeah. If it were a low rise A or B as per the brokers, this would be a low rise A.
Well, there's a difference in cap rate, so there must be
Yeah.
some substance to those definitions. What is a low rise? With no cap, no A or B. You have a low rise on page is that page 6 I'm at again? Yeah. Is it the quality of the building that you're talking about, sir?
For some reason, I lost the report and had to reopen it. So page 6 on my report to say?
Yes.
Oh, the cap rate report.
Yeah,
Or
market report. Your capitalization rates the
okay.
market report. Do you see it there?
Oh yeah, that. Okay.
Okay, so you have a low rise, you have a low rise A and a low rise B.
Yeah,
But
I see.
Can you differentiate those for me? I'm not understanding it. Is it a quality issue? What is it?
Yeah, Colliers has low rise only. They don't have A and B, but CBRE has A and B. And Cushman has only a low rise. They don't have an A and B. And then CBRE has high rise A, high rise B. so that CBRE is the only one that breaks it down to low rise A or B. So I don't know what their qualifications. That would be, I guess, subjective on their part.
Yeah, because at a quarter point of interest differential on the AB, it's significant in my mind, but that's fine.
Yeah, no,
that's fine.
So that a newer property built probably in 1990 plus would likely be a low rise A, and a B would maybe older than that. So it'd be mainly on age.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Okay, if you go to your page 12, you've got the 6 examples of calculations. Are those the only 6 that you used?
Yes.
Okay, but then you go to your final, and I'm trying to determine where is it? Your final cap rate study. You've um, you've got cap rate broken down by age and by you know, tree 46, you know, and whatnot.
Page 24. Yeah.
24, yeah. Isn't the data rather thin to be making those kind of differentiations then?
Uh, well, same as the assessor, you can only get so many cap rate comparables. The breakdown of the years is it's been done like that for years and years. A lot of the age groups are based on Shimichi when they do their rent comparables and all that. So the year built, the categories we have there by year built, and it's a normal category sorting, and then we apply cap rates, going higher cap rates as it gets older, and then that's the trend that we have. So based on the evidence we have and the normal sorting, this is the cap rate. That's our estimate for those age groups.
Okay, thank you. So now you said you had some rebuttal as well, verbal rebuttal, I think you said.
Yes.
Okay.
We're saying some 27 Sergeant, 241 Young that the assessor has. These are inferior location. They're often poor condition. And so I don't think it would be comparable to anything here today. The 459 Sergeant, the city, I believe, is using the actual rents because they say they use historical. But the MLS listing says that the gross was higher, that they had increased the rents by the time they had put it for sale. So that if you're buying and you know the rents, actual rents in place are higher than historical, you should be using that. That's what I'm saying. That's how we would apply for the subject. So if we had higher rents that had been approved by the valuation date, that's what we should be using. And 150 Hendon, 2390 McPhillips, you know our difference on that. So that's, and then you have another comparable, sorry. Yeah, I don't know. They have one comparable where they're using an older sale, and we use the much newer sale. Ours is just before the reference date. They're using an older sale. I guess would be 677 Maryland, or I believe they're using. Yeah, the on page 12. We say that on the comments that the consistent decline in sale price. So for 2.4 million in 2020, that's what the assessor's using, but it sold for 2,176 in March 1st, 2023. And that's it. Thanks.
Okay, Ms. Tang, questions on the verbal rebuttal?
Sorry, so for 459 Sergeant, so I guess you mentioned that the rent increased quite a bit after they purchased the property?
The MLS listing states the annual gross rent income was 101. And that's shown on page 5 of the, oh, sorry, you don't have the copy of the rebuttal.
Sorry, it was 101 and so 101,000?
Yes, then the actual rent in 2021 was 87,200. And when they advertised for rent, they said it was 101.
In 2021?
Just before the sale. So that was the pro forma, which the listing date was 4/06/2022. And it sold 7/6/2022.
But you don't know the actual rent that they were collecting after they purchased the property ending in 2022?
No, that's not a
Okay.
client. We don't know that. We just know that the MLS listing was saying the rents were higher than the past rents.
But you don't know the actual rent that they were collecting in 2022 after they purchased it.
The MLS listing, I believe we can trust the MLS listing. They're saying the rents are so and so, and we assume that it's correct.
Okay.
We don't have the actual operation after, but the rent as per the MLS is something we should believe in. That's a fact that they're putting out.
Okay, no further questions.
Okay, questions, Mr. Whitbread?
Well, just to finish that, the question was the detailed rent. You don't know that? If you don't know that, that's fine. But you didn't answer the question from the assessor. So I'm
The
asking.
actual rent after purchase, we don't know that. We just know that the MLS listing said that the rents were higher. Yeah.
No, I understand your point, Mr. Bond. It was the actual rent. That's fine. I have no questions.
Okay, Ms. Duncan?
No questions, thank you.
All right, I have no questions on the rebuttal. Let's do 780 Elizabeth Road. Then we'll have a short break. And we'll open the files. Okay, Miss Tang on 780 Elizabeth Road.
File number is 24-1799. Roll number is 060214790000. Address is 780 Elizabeth Road. The assessed value for 2025 is $8,410,000. The property was built in 1959. There are two buildings with 3 stories. There are a total of 71 suites, 58 outdoor parking. Bottom page 2 of my brief shows the recommendation for the value. So after reviewing the property, we changed the information based on the condition. So the new value, we assign $1,023.34. And then we use the same vacancy, 3.6% vacancy rate, 49.66% expense ratio, and 5.5% cap rate. And that gives us $7,693,000. Page 3 of my brief shows the subject.
Okay, if you can hold just a minute, Mr. DuPont, how do you feel about the recommendation?
No, a decline.
Okay, so you can continue, Miss Tang, then.
So page 3 of my brief shows the subject property photos and the location. And page 4 shows that there was no sales history 3 years prior to the effective date of the report. And page 5 shows the original valuation. So the original valuation, we use $1,075.35 for the monthly rent. And we use as 3.6% cap rate and 47.63% expense ratio, and same 5.5% cap rate. And that gives us the original valuation, which was $8,410,000. And page 6 and 7 shows the comparable rent. And 8 and 9 shows the cap rate studies. And 15 shows the advertisement for the subject property. And 16 to 19 shows the expense information. And that's my presentation.
Okay, questions, Mr. DuPont?
Yes, for your page 2, you have a different rent, so 871,000. Where did you get that rent?
It was model driven, so we changed the condition of the property based on the review. So we think that the condition of the property was not as good as what it had in the model before. So we changed to a lower category. So that gives us a new valuation.
And the expense ratio, that also changed
That is correct.
based on the change in condition?
That is correct.
So that is not site specific whatsoever, this recommendation, simply the change in your model.
That's correct.
Your rent comparables on page 6. Subject built 1959, and your comparables are 1980, 73, 77, 78. So would you agree that your comparables are all superior?
In terms of the year built, that is correct.
So would you agree that your comparables then are not supporting the rents that you gave to it?
Oh. The comparable rent will be supporting the new recommendation value.
So the original page 6, the original assessment for subject was 1,075, and your rec is based on 1,023.
That's
So,
correct.
so only $50 less in rent. So 1023, your comparables still are not the same age. You would agree?
I agree.
It's all questions I have.
Okay, Miss Duncan, questions?
Sorry, and I don't think I missed it as you walked along. So when you made your recommendation, what was your new NOI and was there a change to cap rate?
The cap rate was not changed. Cap rate was still 5.5%. So page 2, the new NOI will be $423,106.68.
Okay, that was the new one. So you didn't adjust for age through the cap rate. You kept it consistent and just adjusted rents. Is that what the recommendation was based on?
Lower rent and higher expense ratio.
Right. So if you were acknowledging the age and that of the build, why would you not have looked at the model cap and adjusted it?
The cap rate is based on, I guess, the year built and location. I guess because the year build was not adjusted, so the cap rate was not changed. So that's why it's only reflected by the rent. So if we lower the rent and increase the cap rate, we'll be double dipping the condition of the property. So that's why we're only applying a lower rent and keeps the cap rate the same.
So if you had done a calculation on leaving the rents as is and adjusting the cap rate, did you do that type of math or not necessarily? No.
No, we didn't do that.
Okay. Okay, thank you. No other questions.
Mr. Whitbread?
Yes. So looking to comparables on page 6, the 3 and 4 comparables at $1,500 and $1,414 in rent, almost $400 a month. Would you call those outliers and not comparable to your property?
I think the comparable would be show a range of the market rent. So if you're looking at the price per square foot, it will be about $1.15 to about $1.50 per square foot for this category. And then we would make some adjustments based on the year built, just like Mr. Dupont has mentioned. So that's why we applied a lower rent as we made in the recommendation.
It's the second time you referred to the square foot value. It sure be nice to see that on your evidence chart, but we don't have it. So, okay, I hear you. And my other questions were answered. Thank you. No further questions, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Mr. Dupont, you can begin your presentation.
So on here. I'm page 9. I'm going to send, I can send you a revised income approach. I noticed line 3 that we were using a different rent than the actual 2022. So I'm changing that.
So you want to use 753,817?
Yes.
All right, keeping everything constant, comes up with a valid.
Yeah, the vacancy would be included. So line 8, we would be using 753,817. Everything else is constant.
Oh, so that's also your gross rent then.
Yes. So
Okay.
So line 13 would be maybe easier, would be 778,975, same as actual.
Yeah.
And the management changes just slightly from 37,010 to 38,949. So my revised NOI is 351,367.
351,367.
Yes.
Okay.
And a 6% cap rate, the revised value is 5,856,000. I can send that by email if you want.
I think verbally is fine. Does everybody have the verbal changes?
Yeah.
Okay. So anything further you want to say on this property, Mr. DuPont?
No, so this property built in 1959, you just mentioned the cap rate, so that if you go to page 8, 46 to 1969, we have cap rate 5.75 to 6.5. So we're giving it 6% for this one. Yeah, and that's I guess that's all I would like to put on this to say on that.
Okay. Questions, Ms. Ting?
I don't have any questions.
Okay, Mr. Whitbread,
No, I'm fine, thank you.
Ms. Duncan.
No questions, thank you.
Okay. I have no questions either, so let's take a break until 10:10. All right, thank you. Welcome back. Our next property is 932 Archibald. So, Ms. Tang, you can begin.
File number is 24-1263. Roll number is 0602219500. Address is 932 Archibald Street. The assessed value for 2025 is $4,371,000. The building was built in 1970. There's one building with 2 stories. There are 36 suites, 33 outdoor parking. Page 3 of my brief shows the subject property photos and locations. Page 4 shows that there were no sales histories. And page 5 shows the workup for the valuation. So there are 31 bedrooms, 6 2-bedrooms, and then we assign a monthly rent of $1,014.14. Then we use 3.6% vacancy, 47.22% expense ratio, and 5.1% cap rate. And that gives us $4,371,000. Page 6 shows the comparable rent and locations. And 7 and 8 shows the cap rate studies. And page 14 to 15 shows the subject property advertisements and pictures. And page 16 to 18 shows the income and expense information. And that's my presentation.
Any questions, Mr. DuPont?
Page 6, your rent comparables. The subject has 1-bedroom units only. Well, no, sorry, not only very low 1-bedroom units and 30 out of 36. The suite mix for all the other comparables, they're closer to 50% suite mix for 2 bedrooms versus 1 bedroom. You would agree with that?
I do.
So that the subject rent's 1,014, and you got one that's lower, but they all have superior suite mix. So would that indicate the lower rent for a subject?
But the square footage for the comparable is very similar to the subject property.
The do you know the number of stories as to whether they're 2 or 2.5, whether they have basement suites or not
For the comparables or for the subject property?
for the comparables?
I don't know if they have any basements or anything like that.
And your photo on page 3, it shows that there's basement suites there, and underneath the upper suites under the windows, there's an air conditioning. So would you agree there's no air conditioning in the basement suites for subject?
I don't know.
And so this is built, what year do you have that? 1970. And your cap rate is 5.1%. Is it kind of low for an older building built in 1970? I asked a question, so you're not answering, or
I'm sorry, what do you mean by low? Like, do you mean by like we should apply a higher
cap
cap
rate?
rate?
Yeah, because it's built 1970.
I mean, if you're looking at page 8 of my brief, some of the 150 Hendon, it was built in 1972. That one has 4.01% cap rate.
And was subject rents increased by RTB on the date of valuation, similar to Hendon?
I'm sorry, what was that?
And Hendon, the rents increased on the date of possession date. So is the subject rents higher on the valuation date, April 1st, 2023, than the 2022 rents?
The subject property was not for sale, so I'm not sure what the new investor would apply to rent.
That's all questions I have.
Okay, Ms. Duncan, questions?
No questions, thank you.
Mr. Whitbread?
Just looking at the front entrance, it would appear that there have been some renovations done. Do you know if there were other renovations done to this building, Ms. Tan?
Not I'm aware of. I don't see any permits on this property when I was preparing the brief, so the assumption was that there is no other renovations.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Okay, and I have no questions, so you can begin, Mr. DuPont.
Yeah, so the photo page 1 shows no air conditioning basement suites. Now I'm going to look at the questionnaire, see if it says that. The questionnaire just says wall AC, so it doesn't specifically say none for basement suite. Sorry. Anyways, we can go to the income approach would be, or actually cap rate, page 10. Built 1970, so based on our cap rate, it's 5.5 to 6.25. So that we show the features. It's wood frame, no balconies, suites and half basement. No AC in basement suites. Suite mix is fair, as 83% 1 bedroom and 17% 2 bedroom. So that 1 bedrooms are better than bachelors, but when you compare to other properties, you have to be careful on that. And a small size, it's 840 square feet gross floor area. That's before the corridors. So we apply 5.75% cap rate. So the next page, the income approach. So we show the rents on line 1, 2, and 3, and so we use the actual rent page line 3 after discounts. Their vacancy is relatively high all years, 6.4, 7.14, average 5.8. Nevertheless, we use 3.6 that the assessor has, but we also put in the bad debt at the 3-year average. That's 1% there, so that vacancy and bad debt is shown. At the line 11, they have realty tax refund. We say C line 30, school rebate check. And we established the taxes after the rebate. So in essence, we're deducting the 6691 off the taxes to get 30,000. So you can see the line 30, the actual taxes on the financial statement is 37,411, and we stabilize at 30,720 to deduct the rebate. Then the rest of the expenses, we're doing it fairly normal. The repair maintenance relatively low at the 1084 per suite, and that's shown on page 12, the breakdown. So it shows the breakdown, the expenses that it has, what we've used. So the R&M excluding the CapEx and waste and snow is shown for every year. So it's been increasing 800, 664, 800, 1201, 1795. They had a high waste and snow, I guess, and roof on that year. Anyways, we stabilized at 1,084 per suite, and that's what we plugged in the previous page. So our NOI line 33 is 205,671 versus the assessor 222. And when you apply the cap rate, we get a value of 3,576, rounded 3,577. Line 13, we have 390 versus the assessor 422. So a lot of their differences in the actual rents. And our expenses line 31 dollar-wise were less than the assessor. So we're offsetting that. The expense ratio is pretty much exactly the same as the assessor. So our main difference in NOI is due to the rents. It has actual lower rents than the assessor shows. And that's my report. Thank you.
Okay, questions, Ms. Ting?
So on page, I guess 12 of your brief, it shows that you're using the expense ratio from 2018 to 2022, and you use the 5-year average. I'm just wondering, do you have the income information for 2018 and 2019 as well?
In the brief?
No, just I guess your own knowledge.
Well, 2019 is on page 26, and 2018 is on page 28.
And I'm just wondering, what would your new value be if you're including 2018 and 2019 income to calculate the value?
I'm not sure what the question is. If we would not use 2018, 2019 on the repair maintenance, is that what you're saying?
No. So my question was, so you're not using 2018 and 2019 for the income portion, you're only using the 2018 and 2019 on the expense part. So I'm just wondering if you're adding the 2018 and 2019 income information into your spreadsheet, what the new value would be.
I didn't do that. We do 5 years for repair and maintenance, mainly because that's an erratic item. Line 27 that we have on page 11, the average repair and maintenance for the 3 years is 45,872, and we're using less, 39,022. So the fact that we're stabilizing, including the repairments, including the older years, it brings down the average. So we're charging less repair maintenance than if we did not. So our value would be going down if we excluded 2018, 2019.
So for the previous property, 780 Elizabeth, you're including 2018 and 2019 income as well to calculate the net operating income for the property. Do you have any comments regarding to the inconsistency on the methodology you're using? One is using 3 years and the other one is using 5-year stabilization.
We use 5 years repair minutes whenever we have it. And 780 Elizabeth, I closed the file, but I can open it again and see what we did. I believe that, well, okay, I'll reopen it. Yeah, and that one we don't show repair maintenance for the full 5 years.
I don't have any other questions.
Okay, Mr. Whitbread, questions?
No, I'm fine here, thank you.
Ms. Duncan?
Just on page 15, it shows some interior photos and the property looks in more than fair condition. It looks in good condition. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I'm still on 780 Elizabeth, and we actually stabilize using the 5-year repair maintenance. I did not include the repair maintenance sheet in the report, but we had used it. We had used it 5 years. Okay, so back to 932.
Yes.
Yeah, so page 15, there's some
Oh yeah, okay.
pictures and you've assessed it as fair in your cap assessment, but this is looking pretty good.
Yeah, I think the photos looks better. The lot of the furniture they have in these things, those are placed in digitally. It's digital, so they furnish the suite as part of their photos. And I said condition on page 10. I didn't say condition. I don't talk about condition on page 10 of my cap rate.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was the suite mix was fair.
Yeah.
Just let me see. So for condition, you've considered, because when I look at the description too, again, it talks about new flooring. Sorry, just back to page 16. It talks about renovated apartments, features new flooring, windows, lighting, upgraded kitchens, dishwasher, tiles, upgraded bathrooms, energy efficient windows, beautiful Windsor Park. You know, just again, I know it's a 1970s building, but it sure looks in good condition. So I think I heard you say you would agree with that, but
okay, I agree with that. I believe based on this question, I would change my cap rate to 5.5. So I can give you a revised value.
3,739,000.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
that was my only question / observation.
Okay, questions, Mr. Whitbread?
I have none, thank you.
Okay, I guess on the air conditioning, do you know for a fact that it doesn't have air conditioning in the basement suites, or is it just based on the visuals from the pictures?
It's the visuals. They have wall air conditioning. They don't have central, and therefore there's no wall AC that for there. So that uh, no, I can. I thought I said I checked questionnaires, and questionnaires were not clear. Yeah, page 19, the questionnaire says air conditioning, it just says wall. That's
Yeah.
remarks I guess we've had from the past. And I think visuals indicate that there's no place, no visual air conditioning, whereas the upper floors you see it just sticks out of the wall, and there's nothing sticking out of the wall.
Well, yeah, definitely you can see for the upper stories air conditioning below the larger windows.
Yes, yeah.
But the issue I have is on the lower windows. They seem to be mostly obscured either by shrubbery or when partially by a sign and whatnot. So it's really difficult to make out if there might be something there or not.
Uh, I don't know if we have other photos.
I
In
would,
any event, I don't know if
Mr. Chair,
anything.
I would suggest you look at the assessor's photo on page 3, top of page 3. It's a little bit more clear. You can see there are
Ah,
no air conditioners in the basement.
okay, you're right. It's taken a different time of year.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Um, and I have no further questions regarding this property then. So let's move on to 1000 Archibald. Let me open those files. Okay, Miss Tang, on 1000 Archibald.
File number is 24-1435. Roll number is 0602220900. Address is 1000 Archibald Street. The assessed value for 2025 is $2,530,000. There's one building on the property, and it is two-story. The building was built in 1964. There are 22 suites and 22 outdoor parking. Page 2 and 3 of my brief shows the subject property photos and locations. And page 4 shows that we're making a recommendation after reviewing the property. So we're assigning a new rent of $890.22. And then we use a 3.6% vacancy, 51.16% expense ratio, and 5.05% cap rate. And that gives us $2,191,000.
Okay, Mr. DuPont, how do you feel about that recommendation?
I would accept the net operating income, but not the cap rate. The
Okay.
revised net income is slightly lower than ours.
Yeah. All right. So then proceed on the cap rate, Miss Tang.
Page 5 shows that there was no sales history for the property 3 years prior to the report date. Page 7 shows the comparable rent and the location, and 8 and 9 shows the cap rate studies, and page 15 to 16 shows the subject property income and expense information. And that's my presentation.
Okay. Um, All right. Any questions, Mr. Dupont?
No questions.
Okay, questions, Ms. Duncan.
No questions, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Whitbread.
Fine, thank you.
Okay, and I have no questions. So, Mr. Dupont, you indicate that you're accepting the 110,651.
Yes.
Okay, so proceed with your presentation.
So page 2, basement suites. There again, I think the photo is a bit clearer that there's no air conditioning in the basement suites. Our cap rate, page 11. It's built 1964. It has relatively low rent, so it's not renovated. And 1946, 1969, we have cap rate 5.75 to 6.5. And so we say it's wood frame, 1964, no balconies, suites and half basement, no AC, maximum 2 cemetery, small size, 850 square feet per suite. So we say there's no air conditioning for a full building. And the building amenities on page 18, they don't say that they have air conditioning in there. And the photo page 1, you don't see any air conditioning.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm looking at the Google map photos, and some of the windows, they're like half windows on the right, but there's no air conditioning sticking out of those windows. Sorry, I just was checking out further. So my income approach, I had 114, and we're accepting the assessors 110. So my revised value would be 1,833,000. And that's my report.
hey, Ms. Tang, questions?
No questions.
Okay, Ms. Duncan.
Just, is there any interior photos of any of these suites?
No, Sussex ads don't show these photos, so that's all we can get from the internet.
So you wouldn't have had the opportunity to see the condition inside?
No, the rents are relatively low. 901 line 13, 901 per suite after all the items, laundry, parking, etc.
Okay, thank you. No other questions.
Mr. Whitbread.
I'm on page 12, your workup. And
Yep.
I'm a little bit curious. I must have missed something in your presentation. There's nothing in the top portion from 1 to 7. Can you explain that again for me? You have no
Oh.
rent, no discount, no vacancy rates?
That's how such is reporting, like on page 20, that's their statement. They show rental revenue. And they don't show the vacancy discounts. The type of statements we have don't show the data.
They don't show any of this data.
No. So it's we're using it's after the parking, laundry, vacancy, etc.
So the gross income, AGI.
Yeah.
And you're using 236,891. Is that what you're telling us? As a rent? Or sorry, as a
237,92. Line 13, we're using the actual 2022 237,92.
That's what I was looking for, which one you
Yeah.
were. And your vacancy rate, I didn't hear you give that.
It's everything's included there.
So that's 0. Or netted
Well,
out.
it's not 0, it's whatever
Yeah.
vacancy you have. Yeah.
But it's netted out.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, into that number. And now I have 3 numbers, so I apologize. I have your final value. I have your original 1,916,000. Correct? That's what you
Yes.
presented originally.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I have a 2,129,000 that was based on 127,742 as a net operating income. And then I have a third one where you said you accepted the city's
NOI
at 127 or 110.
110.
And you came up with a 1,833,000. Where did that number come from?
Actually, it's I didn't put the 650. It's the assessed net operating income 110,650 divided by our cap rate of 6% comes to a value of 1,844. So my previous value 1833. I had forgotten that there was a 650 in your recommendation.
So you're using the city's original. Sorry, what I would suspect to be the city's recommendation cap rate at 110,650.
Yeah, on page 4, we've done it,
Yep.
and the revised value at 110,650. I accept that, but I don't accept the cap rate of 5.05. So we just put 6% for that.
So the value you are putting forward is 1833.
No, 1844.
1844?
Yes. The previous one, 1833, I had forgotten to put the 650 in the rent.
You mentioned that.
The NOI, they had 110,650.
Thank you for clarifying that. You left me in the dust somewhere else. I apologize. No further questions, Mr. Chair.
Okay, I have one question on your cap rate that you're using. On page 11, in your narrative, you twice say you're using a cap rate of 5.75.
On top there. Yeah. Okay, that's a typo, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
How would no air conditioning affect the cap rate? It seems to me it would be less repairs required for the owner and therefore might lower the cap rate.
Air conditioning is a major feature that tenants would want, and therefore, with no air conditioning, it creates a higher risk and the income stream. It creates a lower income stream, low quality of tenants. And I had actually a decision a long time ago at the municipal board where we had asked for higher cap rate due to no air conditioning.
Okay, without seeing that decision, we can't
I
put
know.
much weight on it.
No, I realize that, but it is a major thing. So that if you have less parking than normal, it's not so bad. At least you have some parking, but here you have no AC whatsoever. for the particular tenant. So that reduces the quality of income and the higher risk.
Okay, thank you very much for that. We will move on. Let me just note something down here. Okay, let's move on to our final property, 1006. Is this right next door, Archibald Street? Let me open the files. Okay, on 1006 Archibald, Ms. Teng, you can proceed.
File number is 24-2589. Roll number is 060934602220. Address is 1006 Archibald Street. The assessed value for 2025 is $7,033,000. There are 4 buildings on the property and they're all one stories. The properties were built in 1971 to 1972. There are a total of 72 suites and 72 outdoor parking. Page 2 and 3 of my brief shows the subject property locations and photos, and 4 shows that there was no sales history 3 years prior to the effective date of the report. And page 5 shows the workup. So there are 32 one-bedrooms, 42 bedrooms, and the monthly rent is $1,015.70. Then we use the model vacancy rate 3.6%, 55.11% expense ratio, and 5.4% cap rate. And that gives us $7,033,000. And page 6 and 7 of my brief shows the comparable rent and locations. And 8 and 9 shows the cap rate studies. And page 15 to 17 shows the income and expense information. That's my presentation.
Any questions, Mr. DuPont?
No questions.
Okay, Ms. Duncan, questions?
No questions, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Whitbread, questions?
Just a point of clarification. I'm looking at your photo on page 2. You're saying a 1-story apartment building. Would you suggest that's a 1.5 story? Those are suites that are half underground and not all above ground on the what I guess the main floor?
Yeah, it looks that way.
So we'll call it a 1.5 for our purposes.
Okay.
Thank you. No other questions.
Okay, and I have no questions, so Mr. DuPont, you can begin your presentation.
Yes, I have a couple of photos on page 1. There it's relatively clear that they have air conditioning in the basement suites, and you'll see that besides the window. Some more photos there. The cap rate, page 12. So built 1971, so below the low part of our range of 1970 to 1989, which starts at 5.5 to 6.25. We give it 5.75, which is a quarter above the low point of that age. So wood frame, no balconies, suites in the basement, facing cemetery. Relatively small suite size, 842 square feet, GFA. So we're giving a 0.25% more than the actual or the start of that range. Now, Line 13, we have 832 in EGI versus the assessor's 845. But then we have slightly less expenses, line 31. So our net income, line 33, is very similar, 5,000 less than the city. They're 5.4 cap rate. I want to make sure yes. Previous page, page 12, I showed the cap rate, and that's the from our I guess the normal. I forgot to change it because I said 5.1, so that so it's actually 5.4 as shown on page 13. Our repair maintenance, we stabilize at 1650 per suite, and you can see the next page, page 14. It shows what they are. We exclude some high years for electrical in 2020, and the high years are shown in red. And so that we stabilize 1650. So that makes it for a small difference in NOI. First page, previous page, page 13. And so when we apply a cap rate 5.75, we get a value of 6510. The appendix, we get the photos, page 17. I guess I have to turn the page around. Yeah, so page 18, it says again that they have carpet, air conditioning, fridge, carpet, kitchen storage. It says renovated, and then above it says Fort Line newly renovated suite features new cabinets with quartz countertop and tile for both kitchen and bath, new flooring and new paint. The appliances appears to be the white appliances. And I believe that's probably all I need to show you. Yeah, that would be my report.
Okay, questions, Ms. Ting?
No questions.
Mr. Whitbread?
No questions, thank you.
Ms. Duncan?
No questions, thank you.
Okay, thank you. We've now heard all properties on today's agenda, and this hearing is now adjourned. Thank you both for your very capable presentations. And then the board will just take a short break, and then we'll come back and do our deliberations.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Thank you,
Bye.
folks.
Thank you.